and welcome to this very special broadcast of How Do I Rob This? How Do I Rob This is a podcast, and this is a very special episode, so for the idea to this episode, I would like to give a huge shout out to COVID-19. Only thanks to the coronavirus is it possible that all world governments are currently in lockdown, which makes it difficult, even for small podcasts, to record episodes on a monthly basis. And I could not get a hold of the other host of the podcast, Oskar Brown. So I, Sebastian Weissbach, am all by myself in recording this episode. So please enjoy and leave us some feedback if you like, if you can. You can also subscribe. But please let me get to the point. In this special episode, I will record some heist ASMR for you. Sounds to relax you if you are sexually deviant, like so many people on the internet are these days. A quick research into ASMR reveals it's mostly recorded by a phenomenon that I like to call the bright girls. Bright girls are girls on the internet that use a ring light and stare into it. And that's what I'm doing at the moment. If you watch this on YouTube, you will no doubt see that I'm staring into a ring light, which really flattens out my facial features, makes it nice and pleasant, and most important of all, very bright, because that's what beauty is these days. Brightness. I would personally like to call this movement bright supremacy. And as with all current supremacies, we have the social media algorithms to thank for that. Because I think they have an easier time identifying faces when they are bright. But you can also just listen to my face, me scratching it, like one would scratch a dog. This is how you scratch a dog when he's a good boy. And there's no need for any alternative, because ultimately all dogs are good boys. Even some cats. Here, to contrast the dog scratching, let me give you that again. Here's the gentle petting of a cat's belly. You can hear that the cat is a whole lot fluffier than the dog. And here I find myself lost in the recording of this podcast, just as you might be lost to listening to it right now, having stumbled upon it, not knowing what to expect, and a few minutes in, you still aren't sure what to expect, as we have a huge back catalogue of episodes please let me explain to you what this podcast is normally about. Now you see, in this podcast we tend to discuss the perfect heist. We plan it. We find something to steal. Someone to steal from, but no such depravities here. Just a gentle listening podcast that makes it really easy for you to masturbate to. So in this very special episode, I would like to go through the sounds that make up a heist and a podcast alike, because I think you will find that heists and podcasts and also the fox hunt are essentially the same thing. But first of all, for all you YouTube viewers out there, you might be inclined to think that this podcast is sponsored by Rode, because you can see their logo on the microphone. So let me just scratch my chest and reach up and turn the windshield around. Oh, there's another Rode logo on the other side. That's much better now. Now you can clearly see this podcast is no longer sponsored by Rode. But in fact it is sponsored by Bob's Ball Powder. I just unplugged my earphones. Now I can hear myself again. Now, where was I? Ah yes, I was in the balls region, talking about Bob's Ball Powder. You can find Bob's Ball Powder available at bobsballpowder.com. Use the discount code "How do I rob this?" for 45, maybe 50% off your first order of Bob's Ball Powder. Bob's Ball Powder is the only 100% non-vegan ball powder. It's ground bones from small mammals like possums, hedgehogs, and even armadillos, in case those are mammals, but that is a question science yet has to answer. Even the packaging in Bob's Ball Powder is 100% meat-based. It's crisp cow leather. I'm just unwrapping Bob's Ball Powder for you. I'm breaking off a chunk. You can really smell the quality of Bob's Ball Powder. So the next time a correctly or maybe incorrectly targeted ad on YouTube asks you if you are still powdering your balls, you can proudly reply, yes. Yes, I am in fact still powdering my balls with Bob's Ball Powder, available at bobsballpowder.com. Now, let me just clean up my hands with the most precious commodity anyone can really possess in these trying times: toilet paper. I just love how toilet paper wraps around my fingers You can use 2 fingers from either side to simulate a muff. The ones you warm your hands in, whatever version of muff you use for that. Just tearing through the sheets. And another one. Yes. Is this what you were looking for when you Googled ASMR? Or perhaps you are a future employer searching for my name on YouTube, and this is the first thing you find. Let me know, do I have the job? Do I still want it, or is this my new full-time employment? Doing ASMR for people like you. You can hear me pointing at the camera on YouTube. I believe the fact alone that people watch this on YouTube and don't just listen to it speaks volumes about who uses ASMR. People who, for whatever reason, feel lonely and haven't yet found the delight that is How Do I Rob This, the podcast where normally we plan the perfect heist. Just looking at my phone, and I'm reading off a quote, because that is what we do on this show. We start with a quote, and I am using the term start here very liberally, because I believe at this point in time we are like 12 minutes into the podcast. 12 minutes of your time listening to me whisper. How does it feel? That's not the quote. This is the quote. It is forbidden to kill, therefore all murderers are punished unless they kill in large numbers and to the sound of trumpets. Now, I do not have a trumpet, but I do have a kazoo lying around here, somewhere behind me, too far to reach for the moment, but maybe that is something you can look forward to, that we all can look forward to as a group. But first, I will give you ASMR for one of the regular things that we do on the show, which is taking research breaks. Normally, one of us, and I'm the only one who's here, so it'll be me, will announce we will now go on a research break. And then we will go on a research break. And these breaks we typically do research. So I'd like to open a laptop, and I will type a few things. That was just nonsense, but let me go to a website and so we can live find out what ASMR is. Autonomous sensory meridian response. I will now type, can you feel those meridians? I want you to tell me if you can feel those meridians. If ASMR does work for you, or does in fact not work for you. Some people like to say that it triggers them. Trigger is one of those words that are fun to say, but back in my day, when I still served in the military, had a different meaning. Right now, people can be positively triggered by sounds like this. I'm using an old wristwatch. I've just opened it. Sliding my hand into it. Now I've closed it. And now I know what time it is. It is 11:02, which I do not think is the correct time of day. Not at this very moment. It is 3 p.m. And perhaps not even when you are listening to this, so let me dial something up on this watch. I'll take it off again. Thank you, watch. That is one of these effects you can only have with things if you never throw anything away. Speaking of which, I'll now pretend to have a sip of whiskey because there is no whiskey in my flask. That would be irresponsible. I don't drink while I podcast. At least not alone. So please join me in this drink. Let's pretend there's whiskey in this flask, which is branded with a line from the lyrics of the great singer-songwriter Tom McRae. Closing the flask, but it refuses to because I'm too clumsy. I wonder what happens if I put the wristwatch on the flask. Now I can get drunk. I don't always know what time it is. Let me combine that into a mechanism that makes more sense. There we have it. The perfect combination of watch and flask. The flotch. Some might say the wlask. Still perfectly functional. Actually quite impressive. I might take this idea to the lion's den or cave of dragons, the bunker of bears, or even the Tower of Turtles. One of those stupid shows on television where a few fuckheads who studied economics and made it big using their parents' fortune now all of a sudden decide which ideas are good and which are bad. Spoiler alert, all those ideas are bad. Let me browse through this book for you. Feels good pretending to read a book, doesn't it? In this age of social media, we rarely ever read anything longer than a tweet. But this is an original issue, or a reprint of an original issue of Goethe's Faust, a classic of German literature. They say the classics sound best, and they are in fact correct. Twitter does not sound half as good. What else do we have? Oh yes. We have the notebook. Now, back in the days when people would take notes regularly, we might still have had an actual notebook, but right now we just have printing paper and a slate. I'm clapping it very gently, don't be afraid. Wood on wood. Good. And we use paper to take our notes. I've actually taken a few notes about what I want to talk about. One of these things is the origins of the show, so please allow me to indulge you. Oskar and I created the idea to this show, just reaching back and grabbing something to drink. It's a bottle of Coke Zero, and I think you can really hear the lack of calories. Of course, you could also use Pepsi if you have no self-respect. Again, we are not sponsored, except for Bob's Ball Powder. That is 100% real. Just pouring in the Coke. It's very fizzy. Just how I like it. Oskar and I had the idea to this podcast back in 2018, when we could still have human contact without fear of a deadly virus. We were out drinking one night and we discussed a plan. We discussed a plan trying to steal mildly expensive whiskey from a whiskey vendor that hosted tastings. And we visited one of those tastings and we just thought, what if he has all these expensive whiskey bottles in his cellar? How could we get them? And we devised a genius plan. I can't really go into the details because it's more than 2 years ago now. I only remember it involved a double bluff, the rarest of bluffs. I wonder if you can hear the Coke Zero in my mouth. I'm just looking at the screen of the camera recording this, and I must say, it's absolutely repulsive. So if you are listening to this, I really hope you know what you've gotten yourself into. Something else I find marvelous about ASMR is that you can use simple everyday tools like nail clippers and scissors and can create pleasant sounds, at least pleasant for people who don't know how to use the music function on Spotify, but that seems to be almost everyone these days. Alas. Perhaps I should be taking some notes on this, because right now I'm learning a lot. And I hope you are too. Where did I put my collection of stolen pens? It's not even my pen. and I must say I don't know how to use it. I'm not even sure if this is a pen. It certainly doesn't look like one. What do we have here? A black ball pen. Opening it. I'm taking some notes. ASMR is cool. Hope you're happy now. Or maybe you've already climaxed and this is simply still on in the background and you lie there in the shame of your existence. I'm not pointing fingers at you because I'm busy picking something up from the side of my desk. It's a tiny little Lego figure. It's Iron Man. I will now take off his repulsor beams and those on his feet. I just dropped one. And now I'll take off his tiny little helmet. Then show you his face. Reassembling him. And the lights on his feet. And on his hands. I'm not sure what all of this is going to sound like in the end. Maybe it's just long stretches of silence without me saying anything. Oh well. Now, usually on this podcast we have 3 rules that define us as criminals. We always get away with it. We do not kill people. And we only steal from people that deserve to be stolen from. Now, since this is a special episode and we've just stolen the concept of an existing genre that makes far too much money, I'll just keep doing whatever it is I'm doing. Talking in this quiet, muted and utterly monotonous voice. Just to try and get you to relax. Or you're having a bath or in the middle of a Zoom meeting. Or take a yoga lesson, perhaps. I'm just opening a leather package. The quality. 1970s vintage leather reveals an old single lens camera. You can really hear the age in me rewinding the film and releasing the shutter. Maybe you should try a different ISO setting. That's interesting. You're still listening. That is the actually interesting thing about this. Now removing the lens. I've honestly never seen a mechanism like that. It completely screws on. I find that beyond weird. let's take one more picture for good measure. I'll take a photo of you now, dear listener. Smile. You've done an excellent job. All the bright girls would be very, very proud of you. Normally, for the purpose of timing, I would not put this camera away on air, but YouTube favors quantity over quality, so I will do just that, putting the camera back in its case. Forgot I need to do it where you can see it, otherwise the raw sexual magic is gone. Oh, I'm closing the buttons. There's one. And there's another one. How did that feel? Did it feel revealing when I pretended to take a photo of you just now? Because in reality, you know that I cannot take photos of you through YouTube or your regular podcasting app. It's actually quite impossible. And dare I say, for the better. I feel an itch coming up in my beard, so I think I will scratch it like before. Feels good to scratch your beard. If you are just listening to this and not watching the video, I can promise you it's my beard that I'm scratching. No back hair, no pubes. I've had those lasered off by a Slovenian doctor at the end of last year, but then the COVID-19 global pandemic came along, and here we both are, me doing ASMR, perhaps saying ASMR, speaking it. I'm not sure which verb you would use in the context of ASMR and you listening to it. So, dear listener, please let me indulge you with one last goodbye. But for that I need to leave the room. Even I am not decrepit enough to leave this in, though, so do not worry. I will edit this out, unless I forget, in which case there's going to be tons of silence. But I think I'll remember. So, let's see what else I found. Lying around in the Heist Lounge that I believe money can be made of on YouTube. Rubbing the microphone 1. Rubbing the microphone 2. Rubbing my beard against the windshield. Normally, that's not something you want in audio content, but this is ASMR and you people are fucking creeps. I just want you to know that. Actually, I'm gonna mark that on my paper. Here's the word creep. Here's my marker. Now it's all green. Close the marker again. put the paper away. And open a nice glass of cherry and banana jam. It's already been opened. It's the cheap brand, the store brand, and you can really smell the difference. You can also really hear it. You could beat a drum on the tap. It's like rain pouring, or an old man at a urinal, perhaps. A very calming sound. Something you also definitely do not want to forget in these trying times is disinfecting your phone every now and again. So let me remove the protective case carefully. It really takes all my self-control not to yell in frustration, but I believe you are worth it. I will now take the disinfectant and take the cap off. Then I'll spray some disinfectant on my phone. And on your filthy thoughts alike. Also on the protective case. And I'll put the cap back on the disinfectant. And fiddle with my phone until it's back in the case. Accidentally took a screenshot and now I'm calling emergency services. Not as intended. Oh, we still have some time until they arrive, so let's make the most of it, shall we? It's another weird pen. Something you come across quite often when you plan the perfect heist. Well, there's two things, really. There's the item of dressing up, for which you need things like cufflinks. So you take them out of the box. One. Then you notice they are in their closed state as you put them into the foam. You open them and remove them from the protective foam. This is when you realize that you put it in your mind to put the cufflinks into your mouth, even though you have no idea where they've been in all those years since you last used them. But you'll still do it because it's good audio content. It tastes a bit like metal, which shouldn't be at all surprising, considering what they are. That was one of the more disgusting things I've done today, but I want you to know that I did it all for you. So, let let me unlock one final thing before we wrap this up. This is a tiny padlock. They are easy to break and easy to pick, and even easier to open if you have the key. Just closing it, just fiddling around with one of the keys. They come in a pair when you get them at the store, and I've never removed them because why would you? You keep them both on the same keychain, and then you are kind of surprised that when you lose one, you actually lose two. And that's when you get a new padlock for $3.95 or whatever the equivalent in your currency is. So I believe padlocks are one of the universal constants. Coming in at $3.95, no matter where you live and what currency you use to pay. Seems we've picked the lock, closing it again behind us. Now I'd like to send you all back into the outside world, which, of course, simply wouldn't be safe without our masks. So now you can listen to me putting on different masks. I'm not even putting them on, I'm just rubbing them against my face because I thought the sound would be more pleasing. I was wrong. So, this is me speaking through an Adidas mask. It feels quite nice. It's one of those functional sports items. It's quite a snug fit, good against your face. Especially when you're just working out. Oh, put this one away for later. Oh, here's another cheap store brand. Can't really use this one anymore because I believe hairspray's gotten into it when I was shooting a commercial, coincidentally for the exact same store that I got it from. But that's the life of a failed active view. Oh, here's another one. This is also one of my favourites due to its more aggressive pattern. I quite like that, as I notice I got my shirt tangled in the headphone cable. So please let me take the mask off again now. Put it all to the side and now open my tie to say goodbye. It's been a pleasure having you. We have a long back catalogue of episodes. If you're not sure where to start, might I recommend the J.K. Rowling episode or the Air Force One episode? Those are some of the, in my opinion, better ones. The Heckler and Koch episode is also very funny. And the before times we even had guests on the show, more or less regularly, like the cosplayer Lychee or the now famous musician Black Prez. So, everyone, thank you for listening. You can find us. I'm just gonna scratch my hair as I'm telling you where you can find us. You can find us at How Do I Rob This on all social media platforms. We're on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, even on TikTok, but we'll never release a second video, so don't expect too much from us. Now I'll scratch my beard as I talk into the other microphone. My name is Sebastian Weissbach. I am at SM Weissbach. Our today absent host, Oskar Brown, is at the Oskar Brown on social media. We'd love to hear some feedback from you. or maybe what else you expect to hear from us if this lockdown goes on for much longer and we are unable to record episodes regularly. It's been a blast having you, and like, comment, subscribe, or do whatever everyone else does and just ignore us. Thank you for listening. And now I'll leave you to it with the sound of me fixing my tie. Thank you. Not bad for someone who usually doesn't wear ties, eh? I'll see you. Oh, wait, look at you. So here we are again. I'm using my girlfriend's kazoo because I don't have one. Kazoo wood. Sounds very valuable. I'm not sure I'm using it from the right side. Problem is I'm trying to be very quiet. That's too loud. I'll have to edit this out. Clearly this isn't as funny as I thought it would be, but maybe we can add the kazoo to our trusty flotch. Oh yes, now it tells you the time. It's a musical instrument for children, clowns. It also lets you get drunk. Thank you, everyone.